How to stop procrastinating. 26 simple rules for taking action. Hello, and welcome to MT. Do you ever have a really important thing you need to do, but you find yourself doing everything else instead? You clean your room, you watch videos online, you call a friend, all while that big, important task just sits there, making you feel guilty. It's a horrible feeling, and it's a cycle that can trap you for days, weeks, or even years, making you feel lazy and unproductive. This video is going to break that cycle for good. We are going to walk through 26 simple, unbreakable rules that will teach you how to stop procrastinating and finally start getting things done. Rule number 1 is to get crystal clear. You absolutely cannot hit a target that you cannot see. A huge reason we put things off is because we are not 100% sure what we are supposed to be doing. Think about it. If your goal is just to get healthy, what does that even mean? Does it mean you should go for a run, or eat a salad, or maybe just go to bed earlier? Because it is so vague and unclear. It is very easy to do nothing at all, because you don't know where to start. Now, imagine your goal was, I will walk for 30 minutes every morning before work, and I will not eat any snacks after dinner. Suddenly, you have a very clear target. You know exactly what to do and when to do it. Clarity is like turning on the lights in a dark room. You can suddenly see the path forward, and all the obstacles disappear. Most of our stress and inaction comes from this mental fog, this feeling of confusion about our goals. When you take the time to decide specifically what you want to achieve, you remove the very first excuse your brain uses to procrastinate. You can no longer say, I don't know where to begin, because you have already defined the beginning. This process of getting clear is the most important step in all of personal productivity. It's the foundation upon which everything else is built. Without a solid, clear foundation, any attempt to build good habits or get more done will eventually crumble. So before you try any other fancy productivity trick, you must first sit down and define your destination. Write it down on a piece of paper, make it real and tangible, and you will find that the journey becomes 10 times easier. Rule number 2 is to plan your day the night before. This might sound almost too simple to work, but it is one of the most powerful habits you can build. The rule says that for every minute you spend planning, you can save up to 10 minutes when you are actually doing the work. Just think about that for a second. A simple 10-minute planning session before you go to bed can save you over an hour and a half the next day. How is that possible? It works because when you plan your day in advance, you are telling your subconscious mind what is important. While you sleep, your brain will actually start to process that list and work on the problems. So when you wake up, you often have fresh ideas and a clearer path forward. You wake up with a purpose instead of waking up and wondering, what should I do today? Imagine going to the grocery store without a shopping list. You wander down every aisle, you buy things you do not need just because they look good, and you almost always forget the 1 or 2 things you actually went there for. That is what most people's day looks like when they don't have a plan. They waste time on unimportant tasks, they get distracted by whatever pops up, and they end the day feeling like they were busy but accomplished nothing. A plan is your shopping list for success. It keeps you focused on what you need to get and helps you ignore all the junk. Your plan doesn't have to be complicated. Just take a simple piece of paper or a notebook and write down every single thing you need to accomplish the next day. Once it's all written down, you can start to organize it, but the first step is just to get it out of your head and onto the paper. This simple act frees up your mental energy so you can focus on doing the work, not on remembering what the work is. It is a small habit that pays off with huge results in your daily productivity and peace of mind. Rule number 3 is to think long-term. The one thing that separates successful people from unsuccessful people more than anything else is their time perspective. Most people think only about the short term. They think about what is easy, fun, and comfortable right now. Successful people, on the other hand, think about the future. They think 5, 10, even 20 years down the road, and they make their decisions today based on the future they want to create. This might sound like some abstract philosophical idea, but it has a very practical application for beating procrastination every single day. Before you begin any task, you should stop and ask yourself a very important question. What are the potential long-term consequences of doing this task? or not doing this task? This question forces you to look beyond the immediate moment. For example, the short-term consequence of skipping your workout is that you get to relax and watch television, which feels good right now. But the long-term consequence is poor health, low energy, and regret. The short-term consequence of working on your most important project is that it might be difficult and uncomfortable. But the long-term consequence is a promotion, more income, and a feeling of pride and accomplishment. When you constantly think about the potential consequences of your actions, it becomes much easier to make the right choice. You start to see that the temporary discomfort of doing hard things is a very small price to pay for the long-term rewards you will get. This is how you train yourself to delay gratification. You learn to say no to what you want now in order to get what you truly want later. Long-term thinking improves your short-term decision-making more than anything else. It acts as a filter, helping you to see which tasks are truly important and which are just distractions. When you are clear on your long-term goals, you can easily see if your daily actions are moving you closer to them or further away. Rule number 4 is to procrastinate on purpose. This might sound crazy because we are talking about how to stop procrastinating, but the truth is, you cannot do everything. There are not enough hours in the day to do every single task that comes your way, so you are going to have to procrastinate on something. The difference between highly effective people and people who are always stressed and behind is what they choose to procrastinate on. Most people procrastinate on their big, important, valuable tasks. They put off the things that could have a huge positive impact on their lives, and instead, they keep themselves busy with small, easy, low-value tasks. They answer unimportant emails, scroll through social media, or organize their desks for the 10th time. They do this because these small tasks give them a quick feeling of accomplishment, even though they do not actually move them closer to their real goals. Creative procrastination is the exact opposite of this. It means you make a conscious and deliberate decision to procrastinate on, or even completely ignore, the tasks that are of low value. You have to say no to the little things in order to have time to say yes to the big things. To do something new and important, you often have to stop doing something old and unimportant. Think about your life right now. Are there things you are doing out of habit that don't really add any value? Maybe it's watching a certain television show, spending time with negative people, or checking your phone every 5 minutes. These are the things you should purposefully procrastinate on. Every time you say no to a low-value activity, you are freeing up time and energy for a high-value activity. This requires you to be ruthless with your time. You have to constantly ask yourself, is this the absolute best use of my time right now? If the answer is no, you need to have the discipline to stop doing it and switch to something more important. It can be hard at first, but once you get control of your time, you get control of your life. Rule number 5 is to prioritize with the ABCDE method. This is a very simple but incredibly powerful way to organize your daily task list so you always know what to work on next. After you have written down everything you need to do for the day, you are going to go through the list and put one of these 5 letters next to each item. An A task is something that is very important. This is a task that you must do, and it has serious positive or negative consequences if you do it or fail to do it. For example, finishing a report for your boss or calling a major client would be an A task. If you have more than one A task, you should organize them by importance by labeling them A1, A2, A3, and so on. Your A1 task is your biggest, most important task for the day. A B task is something that you should do. It has minor consequences. For example, returning a non-urgent phone call or responding to a routine email might be a B task. The rule here is very important. You never do a B task when there is an A task left undone. You should resist the temptation to do an easy B task just to feel productive, because it is stealing time from your much more important A tasks. A C task is something that would be nice to do, but it has no consequences at all, whether you do it or not. This could be something like having lunch with a coworker or tidying up your personal files. These tasks have no real impact on your work life, and they are often the first things you should stop doing if you are feeling overwhelmed. A D task is something you can delegate. The rule here is that you should delegate everything you possibly can to free up your time for the A tasks that only you can do. If someone else can do a task 80% as well as you can, you should probably delegate it. Finally, an E-task is something you can eliminate. This is a task that is no longer necessary or relevant. We often continue to do things out of habit without ever stopping to ask if they still need to be done. By regularly reviewing your tasks, you can often find things you can just stop doing altogether, which frees up a surprising amount of time. By using this method every single day, you will train yourself to always focus on your highest value activities. Rule number 6 is to know your key jobs. No matter what kind of work you do, you get paid to achieve specific results. Many people are unclear about why they are really on the payroll, and as a result, they spend their time on the wrong things. Every job can be broken down into about 5 to 7 key result areas. These are the critical functions of your role, the things that you absolutely positively must do well to succeed in your job. Think of these like the vital signs of a human body, like your heart rate or your breathing. If any one of these key areas fails, your entire job performance is at risk. A key result area is an activity that you are 100% responsible for. If you don't do it, it doesn't get done, and there will be negative consequences. For a salesperson, key result areas might be prospecting for new clients, presenting the product, and closing sales. For a manager, they might be hiring, training, delegating, and supervising. The first step to performing at your best is to identify these key result areas for your own job. Take a piece of paper and write down what you think are the 5 to 7 most important results you are expected to achieve. Then, and this is a crucial step, take that list to your boss and have a conversation about it. Ask your boss for their honest opinion and feedback. This simple act of getting clarity will ensure that you and your boss are on the same page, and you can focus your energy where it will have the biggest impact. Once you have identified your key result areas, you need to grade yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 in each area. This will immediately show you your strengths and your weaknesses. And here is a very important insight. Your weakest key result area sets the height of your success. You could be a 9 or a 10 in 6 of your key areas, but if you are a 2 or a 3 in just one of them, that one weakness will hold you back and cause you to procrastinate. We naturally avoid tasks and activities where we have performed poorly in the past. So, your final step is to identify your single weakest skill and make a plan to get better at it. This is the key to unlocking your full potential. By improving in your weakest area, you can dramatically increase your overall effectiveness and stop procrastinating on those critical tasks. Rule number 7 is to use the 80-20 rule. This is a famous principle, also known as the Pareto principle, and it can change your life once you truly understand and apply it. The rule states that in many situations, roughly 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. For example, you probably wear 20% of your clothes 80% of the time. In business, 20% of your customers will often account for 80% of your sales. This principle applies directly to your work and your to-do list. If you have a list of 10 tasks to do, the 80-20 rule says that 2 of those tasks will be worth more than the other 8 tasks combined. Each task might take the same amount of time to complete, but those top 2 tasks will produce 5 or 10 times the value of the others. The sad fact is that most people spend their days working on the 80% of tasks that contribute very little to their most important results. They stay busy, they work hard, but they don't get very far because they are working on the wrong things. These low-value tasks are the trivial many, while the high-value tasks are the vital few. Your job is to identify the vital few activities in your work and then focus all of your energy and attention on them. Before you start your day, look at your task list and ask yourself this question. If I could only do one thing on this list today, which one task would have the greatest positive impact on my life and career? That task is almost certainly one of your top 20%. Then ask the question again for the second most important task. These are the tasks you must work on first before you do anything else. You must resist the powerful temptation to clear up the small things first. Your brain will trick you into thinking, let me just answer these few easy emails, and then I'll get to the big project. This is a trap. Those small tasks have a way of multiplying, and before you know it, the best and most productive part of your day is gone, and you have no energy left for the work that truly matters. Whatever you choose to do over and over again becomes a habit. If you start your day with low-value tasks, you will develop the habit of working on low-value tasks. You must instead build the habit of starting immediately on your most important high-value task. This will be difficult at first, but it is a habit that will pay you back for the rest of your life. Rule number 8 is to find your big 3. This is a way to apply the 80-20 rule in an even more focused and powerful way. Research has shown that for almost any job, there are 3 core tasks that account for 90% of the value you contribute to your organization. Everything else you do is likely supportive work, administrative tasks, or things that could be delegated or eliminated. The problem is that most people are not clear on what their big 3 are. They have a long list of 17 or 20 responsibilities, and they try to do everything, which leaves them feeling overworked, overwhelmed, and constantly behind. They are working hard, but they are not working smart. The key to dramatically increasing your productivity and your value is to identify your big 3 and then focus the majority of your time and energy on getting those 3 things done with excellence. To do this, you need to ask yourself a series of questions. First, ask, if I could only do one thing on my list all day long, which one activity would contribute the greatest value to my company? This question will usually bring your most important task into sharp focus. Once you have identified it, ask the question again. If I could only do 2 things all day long, what would the second one be? Finally, repeat the process one more time to find your third most valuable task. These 3 tasks are your big 3. They are the absolute core of your job, and they are where you should be spending most of your time. Once you are clear on your big 3, you need to have the discipline to say no to everything else, or to delegate and outsource as much as you can. You need to ruthlessly protect your time so that you can focus on these high-impact activities. When you focus single-mindedly on your 3 most important tasks, you will find that your output skyrockets. You will get more done in less time, you will feel more in control, and your value to your organization will increase dramatically. This is not just a work strategy. You can apply it to every area of your life. Identify the 3 most important goals you have for your health, your relationships, and your personal life, and then work on them every single day. This intense focus is the real secret to achieving extraordinary results. Rule number 9 is to get everything ready first. Think about what it's like to cook a meal in a messy, disorganized kitchen. You can't find the right ingredients, your pots and pans are dirty, and you have no clean space to work. The whole process is frustrating, slow, and stressful, and the final meal probably won't be very good. Working in a cluttered and disorganized workspace is exactly the same. When your desk is covered in papers, your computer desktop is a mess of random files, and you don't have the information you need, it becomes very difficult to start and stay focused on your most important tasks. A clean and organized environment sends a message to your brain that you are in control, efficient, and ready to work. It reduces mental friction and makes it much easier to get into a state of deep focus. So, before you begin any major task, you should take a few minutes to prepare thoroughly. This means you should clear your physical workspace, whether it's a desk, a workbench, or a kitchen counter. Put away everything that is not related to the single task you're about to work on. This simple act helps you to focus your mind on one thing at a time. Next, you should gather all the materials, information, and tools you will need to complete the job from start to finish. If you need a specific report, find it and open it. If you need certain numbers, gather them. If you need a particular tool, get it out and have it ready. The goal is to create a situation where once you start working, you can keep working without any interruptions until the job is done. Every time you have to stop to look for something, you break your concentration and lose momentum, and it takes time and energy to get back into the flow of your work. This preparation phase might seem like you are not working, but it is actually one of the most productive things you can do. It is like a carpenter sharpening his saw before he starts cutting wood. A few minutes spent in preparation can save you hours of frustration and wasted time later on. So, resolve today to clean up your workspace and prepare thoroughly before you begin, and you will feel more confident, competent, and ready to tackle any task. Rule number 10 is to take it one step at a time. Sometimes we procrastinate on a task simply because it seems too big, too complex, and too overwhelming. When you look at a huge project, like writing a book or starting a business, it can feel so massive that you don't even know where to begin. And so you do nothing at all. There is an old saying, how do you eat an elephant? The answer is one bite at a time. This is the exact same approach you should take with your biggest and most intimidating goals. You can accomplish even the most complicated job in the world if you have the discipline to break it down into small, individual steps, and then focus on completing just one step at a time. The author of the book this script is based on tells a story about crossing the massive Sahara Desert. To help travelers navigate the vast, empty landscape, the government had placed large oil barrels every 5 kilometers. In the daylight, you could always see 2 barrels, the one you just passed and the one 5 kilometers ahead. By simply focusing on driving to the next barrel, travelers could safely cross the entire 500-mile desert. You should use this oil barrel method for your own goals. Don't worry about the entire journey. Just focus on taking the very next step. Here is how you can put this into practice. Take any goal or project that you have been procrastinating on and make a list of every single step you will need to take to complete it, from the very first action to the very last one. Break it down into the smallest possible pieces. For example, if your goal is to clean your messy garage, the first step might simply be take out the trash can. Once you have your list, your only job is to do the first thing on the list. Don't think about the second thing or the 10th thing. Just focus all of your energy on completing that one small step. When you finish one small part of a larger task, something amazing happens in your brain. You get a small release of endorphins, which makes you feel happy and motivated. This feeling of completion creates momentum and makes you want to take the next step and then the next one. Before you know it, you will have made significant progress on a task that once seemed impossible. So remember, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. Rule number 11 is to get better at what you are bad at. Think back to when you were in school. There were probably some subjects that you were naturally good at and really enjoyed. You looked forward to those classes, you did the homework without complaining, and you felt confident and engaged. Then there were other subjects that you found difficult and boring. You probably dreaded going to those classes, you put off doing the homework until the last minute, and you felt anxious and incompetent. We do the exact same thing as adults in our work and personal lives. We eagerly jump into tasks that we feel skilled and confident in, and we procrastinate endlessly on tasks where we feel weak or inadequate. A major reason for procrastination is a feeling of incompetence in a key area of our work. If you are forced to do a task that you don't know how to do well, you will naturally avoid it because it makes you feel frustrated and stupid. The solution to this is not to avoid the task, but to get better at it. One of the best ways to stop procrastinating and boost your productivity is to make a commitment to continuous learning and skill improvement. The better you become at a particular task, the faster you will be able to do it, and the more you will enjoy doing it. When you feel like a master of your craft, you will be motivated to dive in and get the work done. So, you need to identify the key skills that are essential for your success. Look back at your list of key result areas and identify which one is your weakest. What is the one skill that, if you developed and did it in an excellent fashion, would have the greatest positive impact on your career? Once you have identified that skill, you need to dedicate yourself to becoming a master of it. There are 3 simple ways to do this. First, read about your field for at least 30 to 60 minutes every single day. Second, listen to educational audio programs or podcasts during your commute or while you are exercising. And third, take courses and seminars that can help you improve your most important skills. The more you learn, the more competent and confident you will feel. This increased confidence will naturally lead to less procrastination and more action, creating a positive upward spiral of success and motivation. Rule number 12 is to find your bottleneck. For any goal you want to achieve, there is always one limiting factor or constraint that sets the speed at which you can achieve it. This constraint is like a bottleneck in a bottle. It determines how fast the contents can flow out. No matter how big the bottle is, the flow is always limited by the narrowest part. Your job is to accurately identify the main bottleneck that is holding you back and then focus all of your energy on eliminating it. This is often the most productive use of your time. Think about a goal you have right now. Why haven't you achieved it yet? What is the one thing that is standing in your way? What sets the speed at which you get the results you want? Sometimes the bottleneck is external. It could be a person whose decision you are waiting for, a resource you don't have, or a competitor in the market. However, the 80-20 rule applies here as well. 80% of the time, the bottleneck is internal. It is within you. It is a lack of a particular skill, a bad habit, a negative belief, or a personal quality that is holding you back. For example, a salesperson's goal might be to double their income. The bottleneck might be their inability to effectively ask for the sale at the end of a presentation. No matter how many new people they talk to, their income will always be limited by that one weak skill. A business owner might want to grow their company, but their bottleneck might be their inability to delegate work to others. They try to do everything themselves, which limits the growth of the entire company to what one person can accomplish. You must have the courage and the honesty to look deep inside yourself and identify your own limiting factors. Once you have found your major bottleneck, you need to focus on it single-mindedly. What can you do to open up that bottleneck? If it's a lack of skill, make a plan to learn it. If it's a negative person, find a way to work around them. If it's a lack of a resource, brainstorm ways to get it. By focusing your efforts on this one key constraint, you can often make more progress in a few weeks than you would in months of working on other, less important things. This is the essence of strategic thinking. Find the one thing that is holding everything else back and fix it. Rule number 13 is to be your own boss. When you were a child, you had parents and teachers who were constantly telling you what to do. They made sure you ate your vegetables, did your homework, and went to bed on time. They provided the external pressure and structure that you needed to do the important things. But now, you are an adult. For the most part, there is nobody standing over your shoulder forcing you to do the work. The problem is that many people never make the mental shift from being a child who needs external supervision to being an adult who is self-directed. They are still waiting for someone else to come along and motivate them, inspire them, or tell them what to do. They are waiting for a boss, a spouse, or a mentor to give them the push they need. But in the real world, nobody is coming to rescue you. You are the only one who can make yourself do the things you need to do to be successful. Only about 2% of people can work entirely without supervision. These are the people we call leaders. And this is the kind of person you must decide to become. To reach your full potential, you have to form the habit of putting the pressure on yourself. You have to choose your own most important tasks and then make yourself do them, whether you feel like it or not. This means you need to set higher standards for yourself than anyone else would. You should make a game of starting your work a little earlier, working a little harder, and staying a little later. You don't do this to impress anyone else. You do it to impress yourself. Every time you push yourself to do your best, you build your own self-respect and self-esteem. Self-esteem has been defined as the reputation you have with yourself. With every action you take, or fail to take, you are either building up or tearing down that reputation. When you push yourself to go beyond what the average person would do, you feel stronger, more competent, and more in control of your life. One of the best ways to put pressure on yourself is to set deadlines for every task and project. A deadline acts as a forcing system. It creates a sense of urgency and forces you to focus. Once you set a deadline, you must stick to it and even try to beat it. When you make a commitment to yourself and you keep it, you prove to yourself that you are the kind of person who does what they say they will do. And that is one of the most powerful feelings in the world. Rule number 14 is to be your own cheerleader. Your mind is an incredibly powerful tool, but it can work for you or against you. How you talk to yourself, your inner dialogue, has a massive impact on your emotions, your motivation, and your behavior. Your interpretation of events, not the events themselves, determines how you feel and act. To keep yourself motivated and energized, you must resolve to become a complete optimist. This doesn't mean you become a fake, happy person who ignores reality. It means you choose to interpret life's challenges in a way that empowers you and encourages action. Pessimists tend to blame other people and outside circumstances for their problems, which makes them feel helpless and passive. Optimists, on the other hand, take full responsibility for their lives. They focus on what they can do to improve the situation, which makes them feel powerful and proactive. Here are a few practical ways to become a more optimistic and self-motivated person. First, look for the good in every situation. No matter what goes wrong, there is almost always something positive or a valuable lesson to be found if you look for it. Optimists have a habit of searching for the silver lining, and they usually find it. Second, always look for the solution to every problem. Instead of complaining or blaming, action-oriented people ask questions like, "What's the solution here?" or "What's the next step?" This shifts your focus from the problem to the potential for progress. Third, think and talk continuously about your goals. Talk about where you are going, not where you have been. Focus on the exciting future you want to create, not on the past mistakes you have made. Your mind will move in the direction of your dominant thoughts, so make sure your thoughts are focused on your desires. Finally, you must be a bodyguard for your mind. You have to carefully guard the entrance and not allow negative thoughts to take root. Just because you have a negative thought does not mean it is true, or that you have to believe it. You can choose to challenge it and replace it with a more constructive and positive thought. Remember that you are in charge of your inner world. By choosing to be your own cheerleader, you can keep your motivation high even when things get tough. Rule number 15 is to create a sense of urgency. One of the most common forms of procrastination is waiting for the perfect time to start. We tell ourselves things like, "I'll start my diet on Monday," or "I'll start that project when I'm feeling more inspired," or "I'll start saving money when I get a raise." The problem is, the perfect time never comes. There will always be a reason to delay, always an excuse to wait for a better opportunity. Highly successful and productive people understand this. They don't wait for the right time. They create it. They have a habit of moving fast on their key tasks and opportunities. When they decide to do something, they launch into action quickly, and then they work on it continuously until it is complete. You need to develop this same sense of urgency in your own life. When you work quickly and with a focused purpose, you activate something called the flow state. This is a mental state where you are fully immersed in an activity, you lose track of time, and you perform at your absolute best. Getting into this state requires a sense of urgency and a commitment to work without distraction. When you complete a task, you get a rush of positive energy and you build momentum. According to the momentum principle, it takes a huge amount of energy to overcome inertia and get started on a task. But once you are in motion, it takes far less energy to keep going. It is like pushing a car. The hardest part is getting it to move that first inch, but once it's rolling, it becomes much easier to keep it moving. By cultivating a sense of urgency, you push past that initial resistance more quickly and build momentum that carries you through the rest of the task. One of the best ways to create this urgency is to set clear deadlines for yourself. A deadline acts as a fire under you, forcing you to focus and get the job done. Become known as a person who does things quickly and well. When you develop this reputation, more opportunities will come your way, and you will build a powerful habit of action that will serve you for the rest of your life. Stop waiting and start doing. The time will never be just right. Rule number 16 is to finish what you start. In our modern world, we are constantly bombarded with distractions. Our phones are buzzing, emails are popping up, and there is always something new competing for our attention. This has led many people to believe that they can multitask, that they can effectively work on several things at once. But the science is very clear on this. Multitasking is a myth. The human brain can only truly focus on one complex task at a time. When you think you are multitasking, what you are actually doing is called task switching. You are rapidly shifting your attention back and forth between different things. Every time you switch tasks, there is a cost. Research shows that after even a brief interruption, it can take up to 17 minutes for your brain to fully refocus on the original task. This constant starting, stopping, and restarting is incredibly inefficient. It can increase the time it takes to complete a task by as much as 500%. This is why so many people feel like they are working harder and harder, but getting less and less done. Their day is a constant series of interruptions and distractions that prevent them from ever getting into a state of deep, focused work. The solution is to practice what is called single handling. This means that once you start on your most important task, you discipline yourself to keep working on it without any distractions or interruptions until it is 100% complete. This is the real key to high performance and maximum personal productivity. Persisting on a single important task until it is finished is a true test of your character and your discipline. The more you practice this, the better you will get at it. Each time you persist and complete a major task, you increase your self-esteem and your self-respect. You prove to yourself that you are a strong, disciplined, and effective person. By concentrating single-mindedly on your most valuable tasks, you can reduce the time required to complete them by 50% or more. You will accomplish far more than the average person who is constantly starting and stopping. This habit of seeing a task through to completion will make you feel more powerful, confident, and in control of your destiny. It is one of the most important habits you can develop for success. Rule number 17 is to break down big tasks. We have already touched on this idea, but it is so important that it deserves its own rule and a little more detail. Procrastination is often a response to feeling overwhelmed. When a task or project seems too big and complex, our natural reaction is to avoid it because we don't know where to start. To overcome this, you need to use two powerful techniques: the salami slice method and the Swiss cheese method. With the salami slice method, you take a large, intimidating task and you break it down into small, detailed, bite-sized pieces. You lay out the entire project from beginning to end and list every single step required to complete it. Then, you commit to doing just one slice of the task. For example, if your big task is to write a 20-page report, you wouldn't think about the whole report. You would just focus on the first slice, which might be to write the outline, or even just to write the first paragraph. Psychologically, it is much easier to get started on a small, well-defined task than a large, vague one. Once you start and complete that first small slice, you get that feeling of accomplishment and momentum we talked about earlier. This often gives you the motivation to do the next slice, and then the next, until the entire job is done. You are essentially tricking your brain into getting started by making the first step seem ridiculously easy. The second technique is the Swiss cheese method. You use this when you feel stuck and can't even bring yourself to start. With this method, you resolve to punch a hole in the task, just like a hole in a block of Swiss cheese. You decide to work on the task for a specific short period of time, like 5, 10, or 15 minutes. You tell yourself, I'm just going to work on this for 10 minutes and then I can stop. Anyone can do something for just 10 minutes. What you'll often find is that after those 10 minutes are up, you have overcome the initial resistance and built up enough momentum that you want to keep going. You have punched a hole in the task, and now it doesn't seem so solid and intimidating anymore. Both of these methods work by lowering the barrier to entry. They make it easy to start, which is always the hardest part. So the next time you are facing a task that feels overwhelming, try one of these techniques to get yourself moving. Rule number 18 is to block out your time. Most people's workdays are reactive. They respond to emails as they come in. They answer the phone when it rings, and they get pulled into whatever crisis is happening at the moment. This approach ensures that you will spend your entire day working on other people's priorities instead of your own. To become truly effective, you need to shift from being reactive to being proactive with your time. The best way to do this is to organize your day around large chunks of uninterrupted time that you dedicate to your most important tasks. Think about it. 2 hours of fully focused, uninterrupted work on a single important project is more valuable than an entire 8-hour day spent in a noisy office where you are constantly being distracted. These large blocks of time allow you to get into that deep state of flow where you do your best, most creative work. The key to making this method work is to plan these time blocks in advance and schedule them in your calendar, just like you would schedule an important meeting. For example, you might decide that every morning from 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., you will work on your most important project. During that time, you turn off your phone, close your email, and let your colleagues know that you are not to be disturbed unless it is a true emergency. These time blocks are appointments that you are making with yourself. You have to treat these appointments with the same respect you would give to a meeting with your boss or an important client. You would never just not show up for a meeting with your boss, so you should never let small distractions or other people's requests cause you to miss an appointment with yourself. By having a calendar that is filled with these dedicated work blocks, you will find that it is much easier to say no to unimportant requests. You can honestly say, "I'm sorry, I'm busy" during that time. This method of time blocking gives you a structure for your day and protects your most valuable asset, which is your focused attention. It ensures that you are making consistent progress on your most important goals every single day, rather than just hoping you will find some time for them at the end of the day when you are already tired and drained. Rule number 19 is to unplug from technology. We live in an age of amazing technology, but this technology has a dark side. It can be a terrible master if we are not careful. Our smartphones, social media feeds, and email inboxes are designed to be addictive. They are engineered to constantly grab our attention and pull us away from what is truly important. Many people today have developed a low-grade addiction to their devices. They feel a constant need to check for new messages, updates, and notifications. This constant connectivity creates a state of continuous partial attention, where we are never fully present in what we are doing. This is a disastrous state for productivity. To do your best work, you need long periods of deep, uninterrupted focus, and modern technology is the enemy of deep focus. Therefore, you must take back control of your time and attention from these enslaving technologies. You have to be willing to unplug, to turn your devices off, and leave them off for significant periods of time. This can be very difficult at first because of the fear of missing out. We worry that if we are not constantly connected, we will miss some important news or a crucial message. But the truth is, most of what comes through our devices is not urgent or important. If something is truly a life or death emergency, someone will find a way to reach you. Here are 2 simple things you can do to start reclaiming your focus. First, schedule technology breaks into your day. For example, you could turn off your phone and computer for 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon to work on your most important tasks. Second, you can dedicate 1 full day each week, like a Saturday or Sunday, to a complete digital detox. On this day, you unplug from all screens and spend your time in the real world with family, friends, in nature, or on your hobbies. At the end of a digital detox day, you will find that your mind feels calm, clear, and recharged. By creating these boundaries with technology, you are protecting your ability to think deeply and concentrate, which are the most valuable skills in today's economy. Rule number 20 is to use technology as a tool, not a toy. While technology can be a terrible master, it can also be a wonderful servant if you use it consciously and intentionally. The key is to be in charge of your technology, not the other way around. You should use your digital tools to help you focus on what is most important and protect you from what is least important. There are several ways you can set up your digital environment to improve your productivity. First, you should clear your digital workspace, just like you would clear your physical desk. When you are working on a specific task, close all other programs, tabs, and windows that are not absolutely necessary for that task. You can even use website blockers to prevent yourself from getting distracted by your most tempting sites. Second, you need to take charge of your smartphone. The single most effective thing you can do is to disable almost all notifications. You do not need to be instantly alerted every time someone likes your photo or sends you a non-urgent message. Turn off the sounds, the vibrations, and the little red badges that are designed to create anxiety and pull you back into the apps. Third, you should manage your calendar proactively. Don't automatically accept every meeting invitation that comes your way. Instead, assess if the meeting is a good use of your time and if it aligns with your priorities before accepting. You should also use your calendar to schedule those large blocks of focused work time we talked about earlier. When other people see that your calendar is busy, they will be more respectful of your time. Fourth, use digital to-do lists and task management software to organize your work. These tools can be incredibly helpful for capturing all of your tasks, organizing them by priority, and setting deadlines. This gets all of your commitments out of your head and into a trusted system, which frees up your mental energy to focus on the work itself. The goal is to be the master of your digital world. You should be telling your devices what to do, not letting them tell you what to do. By being intentional about how you use technology, you can turn it from your biggest distraction into one of your most powerful productivity allies. Rule number 21 is to manage your energy, not just your time. For a long time, the focus in productivity has been on time management. But time is finite. Everyone gets the same 24 hours in a day. a much more important and often overlooked factor is your personal energy management. It doesn't matter if you have a perfectly planned 8-hour workday, if you are tired, stressed, and unfocused for all 8 of those hours. High performance is not just about how many hours you work, it is about the quality and intensity of your focus during those hours. You need to think of yourself as a corporate athlete. A professional athlete knows that rest and recovery are just as important as training. They can't perform at their peak day after day without taking care of their body and mind. You need to adopt the same mindset for your work. First, you need to identify your personal high energy and low energy times of the day. Most people have the most mental energy and focus in the morning, from about 8 a.m. to noon. This is your prime time, and you should guard it fiercely. You should schedule your most important, most challenging, and most creative tasks for this morning period. Don't waste your best energy on low-value activities like checking emails or attending unimportant meetings. Do your hardest work when you are at your freshest. Then, you can schedule your less demanding tasks, like routine administrative work or phone calls, for your low-energy periods, which for most people is in the afternoon. Second, you must prioritize your physical health. This means getting enough sleep every night, which is usually 7 to 8 hours for most adults. It means eating healthy food that gives you sustained energy, not sugary snacks that lead to a crash. And it means getting regular exercise, which is one of the best ways to boost your energy levels and reduce stress. Finally, you need to take real breaks throughout your workday. Working for long hours without a break leads to mental fatigue and diminished performance. It is much more effective to work in focused sprints of about 60 to 90 minutes, followed by a short 10 to 15-minute break where you completely disconnect from your work. During your break, you should get up, stretch, walk around, or do something relaxing. This allows your brain to rest and recharge so you can come back to your next work sprint feeling refreshed and focused. By managing your energy effectively, you will be able to get more done in less time and feel better while doing it. Rule number 22 is the 2-minute rule. This is a very simple but surprisingly effective rule for overcoming procrastination and keeping small tasks from piling up. The rule is this: if a task comes up that you know you can complete in 2 minutes or less, you should do it immediately instead of putting it off for later. This simple habit can have a massive impact on your sense of control and organization. Think about all the small tasks that pop up throughout your day. An email that needs a quick reply, a dish that needs to be put in the dishwasher, a bill that needs to be paid online, or a file that needs to be put away. Individually, each of these tasks is tiny and insignificant, but when we delay them, they start to accumulate. They create a kind of mental clutter in the back of our minds, a growing list of open loops and unfinished business that drains our mental energy and creates a subtle feeling of being overwhelmed. By dealing with these small tasks immediately, you prevent them from ever piling up. You keep your physical and digital environments clean and organized, and you keep your mind clear and focused on your bigger priorities. This rule is also a powerful tool for building the habit of action. Procrastination is a habit of delaying, so the more you practice taking immediate action, even on small things, the more you strengthen your action muscle. It trains your brain to be the kind of brain that does things now instead of later. The 2-minute rule can also be used as a gateway to starting larger tasks. Every big goal is made up of a series of smaller actions. Often, the very first action required to start a large project can be done in less than 2 minutes. For example, if your goal is to go to the gym, the first step is to put on your workout clothes, which takes less than 2 minutes. If your goal is to write a report, the first step is to open a new document and write a single sentence, which takes less than 2 minutes. By focusing on just that tiny 2-minute starting ritual, you make it much easier to overcome the initial resistance and get the ball rolling on your bigger goals. So, start applying the 2-minute rule today. The next time a small task appears, instead of thinking, "I'll do that later," just do it right then and there. You will be amazed at how much cleaner your life becomes and how much more effective you feel. Rule number 23 is to reward yourself. Your brain is wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Much of procrastination happens because our most important tasks are often difficult and uncomfortable in the short term, while our distractions, like watching videos or eating junk food, provide immediate pleasure. To overcome this, you can essentially bribe your brain into doing the hard work by linking a positive reward to the completion of a task. This creates a powerful positive feedback loop. When your brain learns that finishing a difficult task leads to a reward, it will start to associate the hard work with that future pleasure. This makes it much more likely that you will be motivated to start and finish your work. The key is to choose a reward that you genuinely enjoy, and to be strict about only giving yourself the reward after the task is 100% complete. The reward doesn't have to be big or expensive. It could be something as simple as allowing yourself to watch an episode of your favorite show, listening to a few songs, enjoying a cup of good coffee, or spending 15 minutes on your favorite hobby. For larger projects, you can plan for larger rewards. For example, after you finish a major project at work, you could treat yourself to a nice dinner out or buy something you've been wanting for a while. By setting up these small games and rewards for yourself, you make the process of getting things done more fun and enjoyable. You are turning yourself into your own personal trainer, encouraging yourself with positive reinforcement instead of beating yourself up with guilt and criticism. This is a much more sustainable and effective way to build good habits. Over time, the act of completing tasks itself will start to become rewarding. You will start to enjoy the feeling of accomplishment and the sense of control you get from being on top of your work. But in the beginning, especially when you are trying to break a long-standing habit of procrastination, using external rewards can be an incredibly effective way to reprogram your brain and motivate yourself into action. So, for your next big task, decide on a reward you will give yourself when it's done. Write it down and keep it in front of you as a reminder of what you are working towards. Rule number 24 is to get an accountability partner. One of the most powerful motivators for human beings is the desire not to let other people down. We can make promises to ourselves and break them all day long. But when we make a promise to someone else, we are much more likely to follow through. You can use this psychological principle to your advantage by finding an accountability partner. An accountability partner is someone you trust, who you share your goals with. You tell them what you plan to accomplish and by when, and you ask them to check in with you regularly to see how you are progressing. The simple act of knowing that someone else is going to ask you about your progress can be an incredibly powerful force to keep you on track. It creates a sense of positive social pressure that makes it much harder to procrastinate. You don't want to have to tell your partner that you didn't do what you said you were going to do. Your accountability partner could be a friend, a family member, a coworker, or even a mentor. The most important thing is that it is someone whose opinion you respect and who will be supportive but also firm with you. You should set up a regular check-in schedule, maybe a quick 5-minute phone call every morning, or a weekly email exchange. During these check-ins, you should be honest about your progress, your successes, and your struggles. Your partner can offer encouragement, help you brainstorm solutions to problems, and celebrate your victories with you. This system works for any kind of goal, whether it's related to work, health, or personal development. If you want to start exercising, find a workout buddy. If you want to start a business, find another aspiring entrepreneur to share the journey with. Having someone else on your team makes the process less lonely and much more likely to succeed. We are social creatures, and we perform better when we feel like we are part of a team working towards a common goal. By making your goals public, at least to one other person, you are raising the stakes. You are moving your commitment from a private wish to a public promise. And that can make all the difference in the world when your motivation starts to fade. Rule number 25 is to forgive yourself. This might be the most important rule of all, especially when you are just starting to change your habits. You are going to have bad days. There will be days when you procrastinate, get distracted, and don't accomplish what you set out to do. This is completely normal. It happens to everyone. The critical thing is how you react when you have one of these off days. Most people react by falling into a spiral of guilt and self-criticism. They beat themselves up, call themselves lazy and undisciplined, and feel terrible about their lack of progress. This negative self-talk is incredibly destructive. It lowers your self-esteem, drains your motivation, and paradoxically, makes you even more likely to procrastinate in the future. You start to think, well, I've already blown it for today, so I might as well just give up and watch television. Instead of getting back on track, you write off the entire day, or even the entire week. A much more compassionate and effective approach is to practice self-forgiveness. When you have a day where you procrastinate, you should acknowledge it without judgment. You simply say to yourself, okay, today did not go as planned. I got distracted and didn't get my most important work done. Then, and this is the key part, you forgive yourself. You let go of the guilt and you focus on what you can do next. You remind yourself that one bad day does not define you and that you have the opportunity to make a fresh start right now or tomorrow morning. Research on procrastination has actually shown that students who forgive themselves for procrastinating on studying for an exam are less likely to procrastinate on studying for their next exam. Self-compassion breaks the cycle of procrastination and guilt. It allows you to learn from your mistakes without getting trapped in negative emotions. So, be kind to yourself. You are trying to change a deeply ingrained habit, and that takes time and effort. There will be setbacks along the way. The goal is not perfection, the goal is progress. When you stumble, just pick yourself up, forgive yourself, and focus on taking the next small step in the right direction. Rule number 26 is to just start for 5 minutes. This final rule is your secret weapon against even the most stubborn forms of procrastination. When you are facing a task that you really do not want to do, and all the other rules and techniques are failing, you can use the 5-minute rule. The rule is incredibly simple. You make a deal with yourself that you will work on the dreaded task for just 5 minutes. You set a timer, and you commit to giving it your full, focused attention for that short period. You also give yourself full permission to stop after those 5 minutes are over if you still don't feel like doing it. Anyone can do almost anything for just 5 minutes. This rule works because it completely removes the pressure and intimidation of the task. You are not committing to finishing the entire project, you are just committing to starting. And as we have discussed, starting is always the hardest part. What almost always happens is that after the 5-minute timer goes off, you will find that you have overcome that initial mountain of resistance. You've gotten into the flow of the task, and it doesn't seem so bad anymore. More often than not, you will choose to keep working well beyond the 5-minute mark. You have tricked your brain into starting, and once you have started, Isaac Newton's law of motion takes over. An object in motion stays in motion. This is the ultimate tool for breaking through the mental block of procrastination. It's about making the first step so ridiculously easy that you have no excuse not to take it. It's a way to bypass your brain's emotional resistance and just get your body moving. So the next time you find yourself staring at a task and feeling completely paralyzed, remember this rule. Set a timer for 5 minutes and just begin. It is a small action that can create a huge shift in your momentum and your entire day. You have the power to beat procrastination. It is not some fixed character flaw that you are stuck with for life. It is simply a set of bad habits that can be replaced with a set of good habits. The 26 rules we have covered today are your playbook for making that change. Don't feel like you have to implement all of them at once. That would be overwhelming. Just pick one rule, maybe the one that resonated with you the most, and start practicing it today. Action is the only thing that creates change. You can watch 100 videos like this one, but nothing will change until you start doing the work. So choose your first step and take it now. Thank you for watching. If this video gave you some new ideas or a little bit of motivation, please consider subscribing to MT for more content designed to help you build a better, more productive life. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.